Hello, I'm Zash, and welcome to episode 19 of my Katawa Shoujo Let's Read. Joining me, as always, is my co-reader Faye. Hisao has opened up to Hanako a bit, and showed her his scar. Now, they may not be as extensive as Hanako's, but it shows they have at least that in common. And maybe it will encourage Hanako to open up to him. Anyway, please enjoy this next episode. The heat of the summertime sun beats down on my sweating brow. Dabbing with a handkerchief doesn't help too much in making me any more comfortable. Giving up on the idea of getting more done today, I stop and lean against one of the overpass fences, resting my bag on the ground. The stores in the town below Yamaku are well stocked and offer enough variety for me to get by, but at least an occasional shopping trip to the city is something that can't really be avoided. I've been here a few times now. The city's layout is getting more familiar, and the nostalgia from its atmosphere is beginning to wear off. I realize that I've begun to wheeze. I sound like an old man that's overexerted himself, and having to connect that to the fact that I'm the source is a bit disturbing. I put my hand on my chest and concentrate for a bit to make sure I haven't gone far enough to cause any further problem. Thankfully, my heart is acting normally. There's no dull pain, and the beating is regular, albeit fast-paced, as I recover from overdoing things in this kind of heat. I hate my body. It's frustrating to be held back, even more to be held back by fear of my life being ended, when doing something as simple as walking around the city for a while. As I ponder on my health, I feel my pocket vibrating. By the time my phone's begun to ring, my hand is already fishing for it. A glance at the screen shows a caller number I don't recognize. Strange. Shrugging, I press the button to answer the call and bring the phone to my ear. Hello? Hisao Nakai speaking. The sound of a couple short breaths can be heard, but no actual speech is forthcoming. Hello?
Hisao?
It's Hanako. Her voice is really easy to place, even if I've never heard it over a phone before. Hanako? Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to call. What's up?
Hi. If you're not busy, I was wondering if you'd like to...
Meet up?
Yes, I mean...
She sounds really wound up about this. I can hear muffled voices in the background, and it's about time for afternoon tea, so I guess she'll want to meet me at the Shanghai or something. That sounds fine. Are you at the Shanghai?
The city.
Hanako's here? Alone? That's a surprise. It's little wonder she's like this if she's surrounded by people and entirely by herself. That works out well. I'm just wandering around there now. Where are you? Hanako manages to stammer out the street name, address, and some basic directions to where she is. Luckily, it's not too far, so I agree to see her soon before hanging up. I look up at the sky. The summer heat is beating down. This is the first time Hanako asked for us to do something together, beyond a simple board game, and the first time, at least since I've known her, that she's come to the city by herself. Maybe this means that Lily was right. By the time I manage to stagger up to the cafe where Hanako is, I've started to wheeze again. I'm sweating so much that I feel like a melting popsicle, and I can barely hold the bag in my hand. I need to sit down, badly. The tables outside are all occupied by busily chatting couples and girls gossiping between themselves. The contrast between the different age groups and fashions of the people here and the people from the town near Yamaku is striking. I scan over the people sitting at the tables, but I can't see Hanako. She did say she was sitting outside, so I must just be missing her. It's not difficult, given how small she usually tries to make her presence. I look around again, more slowly this time, taking particular care to see if I can find Hanako's hat. It's pretty distinctive, and I'd be surprised if she wasn't wearing it. There she is. Sure enough, her head is kept low, and the table she's sitting at is right beside the building in an inconspicuous corner. I walk up to where she is and make sure I have her attention before I sit, lest I give her a scare. She notices me and gives me a small wave as I arrive at her table.
Are you feeling okay?
I try my best to laugh it off, but doing so just makes me more out of breath. Not very fit these days. Don't mind me. Hanako nods, but still looks a bit put off. Now that I get a good look at her face, something about her seems a bit different. I'm not sure if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but she looks kind of nice. Her eyes move upwards to look at me, before quickly flicking down again. I begin to think this is going to be another quiet meeting, but a waitress thankfully arrives and sets down a cup of tea in front of Hanako. Hanako almost automatically turns away and lowers the side of her head. It's an amazingly practiced motion, and does a good job of its intended purpose, hiding her scars from someone who leans in close. Her right arm is still laying on the table though, with the scarring on the back of her hand quite visible. It catches the waitress's eye, and I move quickly to distract her. "Excuse me, may I place an order?" The waitress nods and gives me a couple of seconds to look at the menu. "Could I have a mango smoothie, please?" She gives a nod before enthusiastically bouncing inside. Everything is so different in the city, in more ways than one. Hanako looks back up towards me and adjusts her hat a little. If she noticed the waitress staring at her scars, she doesn't show it.
Not coffee?
I think I'd die from this heat if I had something like coffee right now. Resting my head in my hand, I look to my quiet companion. She seems taken aback, a very unexpected reaction to my lame joke. An unwelcome emotion bubbles up inside me as I realize her reason why. Unlike most in Yamaku, unlike anyone there that I'm aware of, my condition goes beyond limiting the activities I can do. Or, to be more precise, reaching those limits could have much more grave consequences. Thankfully, it's something that very rarely comes up since I entered Yamaku. I thought that it was so rare that Hanako and Lily might not think of it at all. It turns out that I was wrong. Hanako silently drinks her tea while I wait for my drink, confirming that it's the right temperature with a small sip before she begins in earnest. Eventually, the same waitress as before bounces up, handing me my drink. I gather change from my pocket and drop it into her waiting hand before she goes off to attend to another customer. My eyes linger on her as she walks away.
Do you think that she looks pretty?
Hanako is following my gaze, her eyes taking in the waitress that served us. I can feel my blood slowly going to my cheeks as I rest my smoothie back on the table. Nah, can't really say that I'm into that look. She just looked a lot like an old friend I had before my heart attack.
Do you have many friends?
I had a few at my previous school, though I wouldn't say a lot. The four of us just hung around together after school and stuff.
Do you still talk to them?
I shake my head. No, we gradually lost contact while I was stuck in the hospital.
You're not saddened by that? Or angry?
Hanako looks genuinely surprised. I guess it's the right reaction. No, life did move on for them while I was stuck in the ward. I was pretty sore about it at the time, but now it's just a bunch of nice memories. Besides, once I came to Yamaku, I found new friends as well. That's quite a whitewash of what my feelings were back then. I went through some dark times during my stay at the hospital, and I really am glad that Hanako and Lily were around to help me after I left it. Hanako blushes as we both get down to enjoying our drinks. She seems to have calmed down since I arrived. And I've started to feel a little better now that I've had the chance to rest a bit, so this is getting to be a nice outing already. Even if she's calmer than before, though, she's still fidgeting a bit. She runs her hand down one of her bangs as I try to think of something to say. That's right, I was going to ask. Hanako tilts her head quizzically. I didn't know you had a mobile phone. How'd you get my number?
Lily gave it to me.
I should have guessed. You know, you could have just asked. I would have given it to you. Want to exchange email addresses? Hanako nods, setting down her drink and fishing out her phone from her pocket, as I do the same. It's surprisingly the same model as mine. Pink, though. Nice phone. She looks to me with a curious expression, before noticing my phone and giggling. It's one of the very few times I've seen Hanako let her guard down enough to do such a thing.
I didn't pick it out myself, though.
Oh?
It was a present from Lily. I never really needed a phone, and I couldn't afford one. She bought me one for Christmas, though, saying we could use it to keep in touch.
They see each other basically every day anyway, both in and out of school. Then again, Lily does have her class representative duties and other friends that she talks with. It'd probably help with situations like this, too, when she's gone away for a while. Lily's a very special person to you, isn't she?
She is. I love her very much.
Hanako looks down and smiles as she thinks of her. None of my friendships were as deep as theirs, and I have to admit to myself that I'm a little jealous of their relationship. We tell each other our email addresses and thumb them into our respective phones, and I get Hanako's number from earlier and put it into my contacts list.
Done. That makes 3 now.
3?
Lily, Akira, and you.
Ah, Akira. She is an interesting person, isn't she?
She is. She's also really nice, though. Her suit makes her look a bit cool.
I'm a little surprised you know each other well, what with her job taking up so much of her time. Hanako looks down and takes another sip of her drink. If I wasn't looking intently at her face, I'd miss the small smile perched on it. I guess when she knows so few people, those she knows must mean a lot to her.
How many do you have?
Me? About 9 or 10. I hesitate to go into them for fear of rubbing in the fact that Hanako doesn't have parents, or apparently even close relatives. 2 of those are Shizune and Misha too, which is another can of worms. I imagine that Lily would have more than both of us put together, probably. Hanako gives a childish giggle, and I can't help smiling. It's a good feeling that she's gotten so comfortable around me at times like this. I feel like I'm getting close to talking to her true self. Do you mind if I ask you something that I've been wondering? Hanako shakes her head as she takes the last sip of her tea, finishing it off. You don't seem very jealous of Lily having lots of friends. Don't you want to make some more friends yourself? Or get to know some of hers?
I'm not jealous. I don't like people, so I don't mind not having many friends.
That's really not the answer I was expecting. She doesn't look fearful or sad as she says this, but rather quite serious. Hanako rubs her arm awkwardly, having taken my quietness as a reason to continue. I'm not really sure what I should say, so I end up simply giving her my attention in silence.
In middle school, I got bullied. A lot. I was called names and got excluded from work groups and sports teams. There were worse things too.
And that's what made you not like other people? She shakes her head.
That was elementary school.
I feel bad for bringing this up now. Adults have enough problem dealing with Hanako's scarring. Children would be all the worse. I had assumed that the way she tried to make her presence not felt was just to avoid people staring at her, or because she was afraid of them. Certainly not because she genuinely didn't want to interact with them in the first place as well. I noticed the condensation from my neglected smoothie forming a little puddle around the bottom of the cup, so I take the opportunity to finish it off. As I drink, she begins to fiddle with her phone. It looks like she remembered the people around her again, and begun to tense up. It isn't exactly a cheap phone. I had to save up for quite a while to afford one when I got mine. Lily went to private school. She probably wouldn't have too much trouble getting one for a present, though. Watching her fiddle with it gives me an idea. Hey, Hanako, wait for me. I'll be right back. I put the now empty cup down, slip my phone into my pocket, and begin to move off, carefully stepping around the bag I placed at my feet. Thankfully, sitting around while talking to Hanako has helped me feel a lot better than before.
Wait, what? Where are you going?
Just stay here. I'll be back in a bit. As much as I'd like to have jogged back, I know full well that I couldn't. I end up walking back to the cafe, a little blue bag in my right hand. Hanako notices me quickly, looking about as confused as she did when I left. I deposit the diminutive bag in front of her and sit back down.
Is this...
It's for you. You can open it.
But...
Go on. She looks very unsure about it, but eventually gives in, slowly opens the bag, and picks its contents out. A silver chain phone strap dangles from her fingers, ending in a delicate flower. It isn't exactly a masterwork of jewelry, but it's about as much as I could afford. Hanako's eyes light up when she looks at it. It's the kind of reaction I was hoping for. The summer sun's light glints off the silver as it twists to and fro a little. It's not too ostentatious, but still looks a little charming. I think it suits her well. Hanako lowers the phone strap to the table and looks to me once more.
But... it's not Christmas on my birthday.
It's fine, don't worry about it. I just thought it might be nice to have something to decorate your phone with.
But I don't have anything to give to you.
I told you, it's fine. Friends can give things to each other like this sometimes, right?
Friends.
Hanako lowers her face so much that I can't see her expression. She eventually nods before taking her phone and fiddling with the strap to attach it properly. She looks to me and smiles as she holds up her phone, now adorned with a little flower.
Thank you, Hisao.
Her smile proves infectious. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice a couple getting up and leaving. That reminds me that the bus back to the town below Yamaku will be coming soon. I guess I'd better be going if I want to catch the next bus back to town. You coming as well?
Yes.
She hastily nods before carefully putting her phone back into her pocket and getting out of her chair. I do the same and pick up the bag I'd left beside me on the way out. We walk side by side as we make our way to the bus station, exchanging no words between us. Hanako's gaze is firmly locked ahead of her, though she looks very happy with herself. I'm not sure what I should say to her, but I'm also not sure that I need to say anything. The fact that Hanako is happy, and happy because of me, is enough to make the load on my arm feel light as a feather. Finally reaching the classroom after the usual walk from the dormitories, I step inside. My eyes immediately turn to the third seat from the left in the back row, Hanako's seat. It's empty, and after glancing around the classroom, it looks like she isn't here yet. The two girls from the newspaper club are here in the two seats to the left of Hanako's, as are Shizune and Misha, but that's about it. We exchange morning greetings before I take my seat. I have to admit that this is a bit of a relief. This gives me at least a few more minutes to think. Not that I haven't been doing so previously. Ever since our trip to town, Hanako's been on my mind. I still don't know what to make of my relationship to Hanako. I like her, I can admit that much to myself. I want to protect and shield her from the pain she feels. I really don't think my feelings are just those of friendship anymore. But, that said, I feel like I don't even know her. If I made a move on her, how would she take it? Is she in an emotional state that allows her to make a reasonable decision about a relationship? How would she cope with anything that might happen afterwards? There's also the possibility that I'm just completely misinterpreting Hanako. Not a difficult thing to do with someone whose social skills seem to be underdeveloped. The sound of footsteps come up to the door, making me perk up. It ends up just being Miki. She barely acknowledges my existence when I accidentally make eye contact with her. I'm about to look away, but another person comes in not long after she takes her seat. I feel myself freeze as I see Hanako enter. This isn't a rational reaction, but I have no idea about how I should act or what I should say to her. For a moment, our eyes meet. And then, just as quickly, she looks away and moves to her seat without saying a single word. As is now usual for the period following classes, my face is buried deep in a book that I find thoroughly uninteresting. Studying is not something that comes naturally to me. I didn't study a lot before coming to Yamaku, and until now, I've largely managed to coast through on talent alone. It's frustrating that I can't do that anymore. Judging by the faces of the other few students in the library, I don't think I'm alone in my distaste for this. Misery loves company, I suppose. I decided to spend lunchtime with Hanako, since we haven't had lunch together for a while now. I may as well spend the time studying, though. Aside from pathetically small snippets of small talk, there was barely a word said between us. Why does she keep doing this to me? I just want to protect her, to be there for her, but every time I feel like we're coming closer, we end up further away.
Are you busy?
Hanako? My head whips around in surprise, causing her to retreat in fright. That was bad timing. If I hadn't been thinking about her at that very moment, I probably wouldn't have been nearly so startled. Sorry, you just startled me. I find myself staring at her longer than I should. So, I go back to the text laying on the table in front of me. I feel more like I'm just staring at the words rather than actually reading. I get the feeling Hanako can notice this as well, so I sigh and close the book. What's up?
I was just wondering what you were reading.
She looks a little downcast after my reaction to seeing her. Giving up on the prospect of getting any work done, I get up and return the book to its place on a nearby shelf. Just an English textbook.
Has it helped?
It helped me realize that I don't like English, yeah. Hanako gives a small giggle. I may muse on the strange state of our friendship, but I do know that such little gestures are things that I wouldn't see were I not at least some distance closer to her than when we first met. I look at her for a moment, thinking about what I do and don't know about her. It's a slightly depressing topic.
Is something wrong?
If I want to know more about her, maybe I should stop being so evasive about it. Talking with Lily as an equal rather than being constantly in fear of causing her to become upset worked fine. So, I should just try a straightforward approach with Hanako as well. Hey, Hanako, do you mind if I ask you a question?
I don't mind.
I want to know what your life was like. Your life before coming to Yamaku. She hesitates. I briefly consider backing off, but she seems to be taking the question quite seriously. I sit and watch her, silently letting her take her time. She's not making eye contact with me, and looks almost as if she's arguing with herself into letting herself open up to me more. Her answer finally comes in a stiff, almost reluctant nod. She looks far more tense than she did before I'd asked.
Okay. But in return, you have to tell me about your life as well.
I nod and follow her as she begins to walk out of the library so we can talk. By now, most of the students have already left the main building, so apart from a few people hovering around club rooms, the hallways are largely empty. I guess we'll start with coming to Yamaku. Let's see. I was in the hospital when my parents first told me about Yamaku Academy. The doctors told me I shouldn't go to my old school anymore. My parents agreed and persuaded me to apply for Yamaku, even though it would mean living away from them for the first time.
It must have been hard for you.
Well, yeah, I have to admit that it was. My parents both work long hours and full-time, so having to live reasonably independently wasn't anything new to me. It was the fact that I was going to a school for disabled students that hit hardest, I think. And you? A small group of chatting girls passes us as we near the stairs, with Hanako pressing herself tightly to my side until we reach the ground floor. She doesn't usually come this close while just walking in the school, so I'm left a little put off.
The staff at the orphanage offered me some options on what I could do. Middle school hadn't been good, so I thought that Yamaku might be better. It was isolated, and I thought it might be easier to get by here with most of the others being disabled.
It's pretty ironic that the reasons Hanako looked forward to Yamaku are the exact reasons I hated the idea. To me, it felt like I was being shunted somewhere away from society and everyone I knew. To Hanako, that was probably an inviting prospect. What was life like at the orphanage?
It was okay. The staff there were nice, and they took care of us. The children there didn't talk to me much, but I didn't really want to talk with them either, so I didn't mind. The orphanage had a little library, so I started to read to pass the time. The staff didn't mind it because it made me easier to handle than many of the other children.
You didn't make any friends there?
No, I think my life was on hold during that time. I knew that, but I didn't mind.
To think her life was on hold for all that time, though. Depending on when the fire happened, that was a huge chunk of her life. No parents, no friends, apparently no relatives. We walk through the door into the courtyard. I expect to need to avert my eyes from the sun, but by now it's well into sunset. Hanako's eyes keep flickering to me, so I look away from her for a bit.
What was it like in the hospital?
I quickly clear my thoughts and try to refocus them. I hesitate for a bit, but I know that I have to tell her. We're close enough for her to feel comfortable telling me this, so it's only fair that I reciprocate. It was okay at times, but at others, it was pretty bad. At the beginning, everyone sent their sympathies and came to visit often. It was just like breaking an arm or something. Meeting all my friends was one of the good times. The Hanako came in often as well, more often than anyone else. But there were bad times too. When my friends slowly stopped visiting, I began to realize how grave my situation was. It reminded me that this wasn't just a broken limb, but that I was now a different person than before. Even the times Hanako would spend with me became torturous. By the end, you were reduced to silence, whereas before, she'd be talking constantly. But that's how Hanako always was. She may have been a fragile person, but she would just talk constantly and try to hide that fact. Not about anything in particular, just talk. I think the 3 lowest points would have been when my parents told me I wouldn't be going back to my old school anymore, my birthday passing while in the hospital, and when Hanako left me for the last time. We leave the school buildings behind us as we begin to follow the main path through the gardens. There may have been the odd bystander in the school buildings, but outside, we're practically alone.
What was your middle school like?
I liked it. I grew up in a really metropolitan area, and the middle school was nearby, so it was pretty crowded. I didn't mind it, probably because I'm used to being in crowds, and around lots of other people. I got good grades, and I played soccer with friends. I spent a fair bit of time hanging out with them after school as well. Did get teased a bit over my hair, though.
Your hair?
I grimace a little as I put a hand over my hair to cover it. I keep getting tufts and strands that refuse to flatten or stay where I wanted them, and my mother wouldn't let me just get my hair shaved. It had a habit of popping out, no matter how much I tried to brush it down.
It still does a little.
I was worried I'd get that reply.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I give a mild laugh and wave it off. It's fine. I know it still does. It feels strange to have someone act so interested in my past. If it were anyone else, I'd think they were just acting polite, but that's something I really don't think Hanako would do. Or, if she did, she'd do it so badly that it would be obvious. There are a number of girls in the common room on the ground floor, and Hanako presses herself to my side once more as we pass them. I expect her to break off, but instead she continues to cling on to me as we walk towards the stairwell. Something about the way she's holding on to me feels different from the usual. I'm left deep in thought as we walk up the stairs and down the hallway. It's only after we stop that I look up and realize that I've been following her without question. Why did we come to your dormitory room? She looks straight at the door without so much as a glance in my direction. Hanako? She moves to answer, but stops herself. Instead, she silently breaks from my side, opens her door, and steps inside. I look up and down the hallway, a bit lost as to what exactly I should do. Shrugging, I decide to follow her, since I don't have any reason to do otherwise.